And it's time now for another interview segment presented by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And joining us now in our newsroom studio is Erik Lauber, of the Armstrong Indiana Clarion Drug and Alcohol Commission. Erik, how are you doing this morning?
Great, Josh. How are you today?
Doing excellent. Thank you very much for stopping by because this is a very serious topic. We've been talking about how the COVID-19 pandemic has been affecting a lot of different entities across our region, but one of the things that I think probably is going to be the most affected are the people who are trying to fight against substance addiction, and things could be complicated by the fact that we are in this new normal, to pardon the expression, of trying to deal with life itself. So how have things changed as far as helping others through the AICDAC?
Well, first, Josh, I have to clarify real quickly. I don't work for the AICDAC. That's Kami Anderson's group. I'm a faculty with the Marty Institute.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Erik.
No, that's fine. I do a lot of work with ADAC, but I don't work for them. My research is actually on how the community is responding to this, and particularly in the area of stigma. But to try to answer your question, I think what all of us in this field are very, very concerned with is that COVID has kind of clamped down on social support for a lot of folks that have been struggling with substance abuse addiction, substance abuse disorder. And we're very fearful that a lot of people are not getting the help they need, or that people are kind of spiraling downward, particularly because there's a lot of comorbidity of mental health issues with substance abuse issues. So people who are trying to self-medicate, try to make themselves feel better, will often turn to these substances. So as Jerry Overman recently said, our overdose death rate is still climbing from last year and the year before, and we're very nervous about that. And I'm here just to kind of try to educate the community and try to get help where we can.
So what are some of the things that you have seen then in your research as you've moved forward, probably from mid-March to now?
Well, the research is ongoing, and over the years we've started to explore how the community just treats people with substance use disorder and reacts to them. And then, of course, we're trying to get a handle on the more recent stuff. Generally speaking, there's a very big mix of how the community responds to this topic. We have folks who still believe, and I disagree with this strongly, that it's some kind of moral failing, that it's some kind of weak will, a bad character, and that's not what it is. We have some of a very biological model, that it's a disease, which the American Medical Association has classified it as a psychological disease since 1956. We have some who are familiar with the 12-step program approach, and so they put it in that bucket. So they think that the right answer to this is 12-step programs, which are great support systems. They're not treatment for substance use disorder, but they're great support for that. It's very complicated, and some do have a very sophisticated understanding, which says that people fall into this both for social, cultural, some biological. There is some genetic propensity to this. And I'm very nervous about the next generation growing up. As I tell everybody, wherever I go out and speak, chemistry is only getting easier. And so we have a lot more chemicals in our kids' environment and our environment than we've ever had before. So we all have to be very diligent and very educational about this.
A lot of things are becoming easier to get a hold of, definitely. I mean, we are seeing that with the uptick in reports of homemade meth labs.
Yes, and we're a county that unfortunately found more labs than almost any other county. But I think it's bigger than meth. But meth has been a big issue for us. Fentanyl has been the scourge of all of our communities recently. Our death rate spiked in 2016 and 17, and now it's come back up a bit. And it's usually fentanyl that is causing the deaths. And I don't know if people realize this, but even in 17, the FBI in the high-intensity drug trafficking area found more than 90 different versions of fentanyl out in the black market. And so, as I said, chemistry is getting easier. People are just making new hybrids of chemicals.
And they're marketing it under that name, so people are thinking it is just one generic homogenous type thing that's going through, that's the same formula all the way around, when it really isn't.
No, right. And sometimes they don't even tell you. They tell you it's heroin. And fentanyl is much stronger than heroin.
Right, definitely.
People are accidentally taking it, and then sometimes they overdose.
Or they might mix it with heroin and then make it even worse.
Yes, we're in the midst of this. I don't know if people know, many more people have died in our county in the last year because of overdose than of COVID. And I'm not minimizing the dangers of COVID, and it could get worse. But It's a big threat that we have this drug overdose problem. And as I said, I speak a lot to parents. I do workshops all over the county and a couple of other counties. And I don't know that they all take it as seriously as I wish they would. When I was growing up, there were no pain pills floating around the schools.
Right.
Maybe there were a couple of kids that smoked weed, as we called it back then.
Yeah.
There's a lot more stuff that kids can fall into at the moment. So that concerns me.
I mean, yeah, even going from when you were growing up to when I was growing up, I mean, we had the classic message of this is your brain on drugs, and we are seeing things like marijuana. I think we were kind of beginning to see the propensity for pills coming into schools, at least I think during my generation when I was going through the school system. And it's a very scary thought to think that things are getting that accessible at that young of an age.
That's the message, is that chemistry's easier. There's far more of it floating around. People need to have these conversations with their kids at earlier ages. And I know that we want to tell our kids that it's bad and that it's wrong, and that helps protect them and keeps them away from that. But as grown-ups, we have to understand that it's a disease.
Yeah.
It's something you fall into, and it rewires your operating system. A lot of people understand the computer metaphor. They understand operating systems, and then there's applications and programs you put on top of that. Well, these drugs, these mood, mind-altering substances, rewire your limbic system, which is your operating system. And it's below your level of consciousness. You're not even aware this is happening. And what it does is it changes what you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's dangerous. That's fundamental to how we operate. And we don't want any of our kids to fall into this. So they can't experiment, and they have to be told if they have any genetic propensity for this. You have to look at your own family and say, we have a risk at this, and you got to sit your kids down and say, look, even if your friends try this, you're at a higher risk. Be careful.
Right. We're talking with Erik Lauber about drug issues and, of course, spreading the message about drug addiction here in Indiana County, here on Indiana in the Morning. Very serious topics, though, all the way around. Nothing to make light of here, but this is a very, very strong, very, very very current topic that we are dealing with. Let me ask this: how has spreading the message changed since the COVID-19, because of the fact that you can't go in front of a large group anymore because of the fact that there's social distancing issues in effect?
Well, yeah, clearly I'm not doing workshops. I'm not going out and speaking to parents in groups anymore. We do a lot more with social media. We do a lot more with websites and video that we put out there. And we recently, I don't know if everybody's aware that IEP got a large grant from the state. Myself and Ancestry are trying to hit the college students with our messages. So that's a target population for social media messaging. Mm-hmm. And it's a challenge. People think it's kind of easy to just throw something up there on Facebook or out there on Instagram, but to get a following, to get an audience with an educational message. I mean, we're not doing dance videos. We're not doing entertaining stuff.
There's no cute cats in it or
no
anything
cute
like
kittens,
that.
Though. That's a good idea. Maybe you should try that. So it's difficult to get 1,000 people to want to hear an anti-drug message. Mm-hmm. They want to tune it out most times.
Yeah, it's like in some cases you might be preaching to the crowd.
Yeah. The ones that want to hear
preaching to the followers.
Yeah, they're already on board with our message.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to get to the ones who want to tune it out.
How do you get those who are on board with the message maybe to spread that message out? I mean, it probably would be tough for them to ask them, hey, could you forward this video on your Facebook page or something
we
like
certainly do that. Yeah, we do a lot of please share this. When you have regular followers, they will get your messaging automatically. I don't have to do anything special, and then they can forward it on. And we have wristbands that we've been handing out for a couple of years. That helps get the message out. We do downtown events. Many years now, we've done the International Overdose Awareness Day in late August in North 7th Street down here in Indiana with Becky Perkovich's help. There's a lot that we try to do out in the public because we know that it's very difficult to get this message to all 88,000 people in Indiana County.
Erik, this is another great way to do it is by being on the radio stations. We're glad to be a part of spreading that message out there.
Thank you.
But one of the things that, again, it's like getting people to pay attention is the tough part. So how do you move forward? So what's going to be going on in the near future concerning getting that message out? Are there going to be some more either social media events or events in person? I know that there's going to be something going on Saturday over at Chevy Chase, that Remember Me event.
Right, there's the Remember Me event over there. Just look for us because, and I'm not the only person doing this. There's all kinds of people in the community who've stepped up to try to get the message out, to try to build some kind of empathy for the folks that suffer from this disease. Just keep your eyes and ears open because there's lots going on. A lot got shut down during the COVID period, but as we kind of wake up again as a society, we're also going to be out there again. Obviously, we want to get campus back. We have a lot of programming that we'd like to do with the college students, but the Marty Institute works off campus as well, hand in hand with the Armstrong Indiana Clarion Drug and Alcohol Commission. We quite often partner with the Open Door, Vince McCurry and his fantastic staff over there. So that, just keep aware. There's a lot that we're going to keep doing.
If anybody wants to help out with the Marty Institute, are they able to get in contact with you or anybody else over there?
Sure. The easiest thing to do is we have a website, www.iup.edu/Marty, which is MARTI. We're all located there. There's quite a large staff. I'm very fortunate to work with the two directors, Victor Garcia and Alex Heckert. But it includes several other faculty and several grad students and several undergraduates. So we're just doing our part. I mean, there's a lot of people who are on the front lines doing a lot more. We just do what we can do as faculty and researchers.
Erik Lauber of the Marty Institute, thank you very much for joining us today on Indiana in the Morning. Stay safe, and I hope that you're able to continue to spread that message. Again, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for your help.
All right. Again, Erik Lauber with the Marty Institute joining us this morning here on Indiana in the Morning on WCCS. Let's give you a rundown of the menu for the next hour. We have Pennsylvania Career Link coming.